Jodie Foster captivated audiences the world over with her portrayal of Clarice Starling in The Silence of the Lambs. But how did the adorable child star from Disney movies end up becoming the acting powerhouse of the 90s? Stick around to find this out and other untold stories in the life of Jodie Foster while we look at some of her rarest photos. Jodie Foster's career began as a child actor when her mother took her to an audition for a TV commercial where it was her brother who was actually trying out for the role. The casting agent saw Jodie Foster and picked her instead. During her childhood years, she appeared in more commercials and eventually started doing films, mostly for Disney. In one of these films, Napoleon and Samantha, Jodie Foster faced a life-threatening incident. There was an actual lion on set as the character of Napoleon had a pet lion. In the middle of shooting one day, the lion tried to grab and claw at young Jodie Foster. This incident left her with lifelong scars on her back. Her early acting career as a child led her to do some notable work, including an adaptation of Mark Twain's Tom Sawyer, and she worked with legendary director Martin Scorsese on the movie Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. Jodie Foster's first foray into more mature roles resulted in one of the biggest successes in her career. In 1976, Scorsese rekindled his association with Jodie Foster and cast her in his new movie, Taxi Driver, alongside Robert De Niro. Jodie Foster was only 14 years old at that time, and the movie's heavy themes meant she needed to go through psychiatric evaluation to be cleared to appear in this movie. A social worker accompanied her during shooting, and Jodie Foster's older sister stood in for her in scenes that had mature themes. Taxi Driver was a critically acclaimed film which was also a commercial success, and this shot Jodie Foster into early stardom, and even got her an Oscar nomination. She developed a friendship with Robert De Niro during the shooting of this movie, and their friendship has sustained for decades since. Another role she took on in 1976 was in the movie Bugsy Malone. In a musical parody where American gangsters were portrayed by children, Jodie Foster stood out with her performance. The director was so impressed by her that he said, "If I had been run over by a bus, I think she was probably the only person on the set able to take over as director." She won a BAFTA award in 1977 that was given jointly for her roles in Taxi Driver and Bugsy Malone. In order to completely shed the child's actor image and propel her into the career of a mature actor, Jodie Foster's mother did something strange and controversial during this time. It is unclear as to exactly when this incident happened, but a photo shoot was arranged in a rented estate in Los Angeles where partially nude photos of Jodie Foster were taken. She would have been anywhere between 13 and 16 when this photo shoot took place. Jodie Foster was a gifted individual, not only with her acting skills, but also as an intellectual. She had learned to read at the age of 3 and was fluent in French in school. She spent 9 months in France when she was 15, where she appeared in the movie Moi Fleur Bleue and recorded songs for its soundtrack. After high school, she got the opportunity to attend the prestigious Yale University, where she wrote her thesis on African American literature under the guidance of famous historian Henry Louis Gates Jr. But it was during her time at Yale University that one of the most bizarre incidents in her life took place. During her freshman year, when she would have been only 18, Jodie Foster had a stalker by the name of John Hinckley Jr. Hinckley had grown obsessed with Jodie Foster after watching Taxi Driver and became desperate to impress her. He tried to contact her on the phone and even wrote to her. But what he did afterwards was completely crazy. In 1981, he shot the US president at the time, Ronald Reagan, wounding him and 3 others. He was apprehended immediately, and he claimed that he did all of this to impress Jodie Foster. This created a lot of media controversy around Jodie Foster, and she was accompanied by bodyguards on the Yale University campus. She even testified at Hinckley's trial. During her college years, Jodie Foster prioritized education and only acted in movies during the summer vacation. She continued making movies after her college years too, but few of these movies ended up becoming commercially or critically successful. By 1988, Jodie Foster was about to give up on acting completely and considered whether to go back to university for further education. This was when her most critically acclaimed role yet came about. The Accused was a movie with a heavy theme. The main character was a survivor of violent abuse. And after auditioning twice for the movie, Jodie Foster was eventually given the role once other established actors turned it down. The shooting of the movie was a struggle for Jodie Foster and the rest of the crew as well, as it was a very difficult subject to make a movie about. Jodie Foster was not a fan of her own performance in the movie and believed this might end her acting career altogether. But she was wrong. For her outstanding acting, Jodie Foster received an Oscar as well as a Golden Globe. She had established herself as an actor in mature movies for adult audiences, and she was no longer regarded as the chubby teenager. Jodie Foster followed up The Accused with yet another blockbuster, and possibly the role for which she is most fondly remembered. The Silence of the Lambs was a psychological thriller movie based on a book that had come out in 1988. Jodie Foster was a fan of the book and wanted to buy its movie rights then and there. But instead, she had the chance to portray FBI trainee Clarice Starling in this movie. Her assignment in the movie was to interview serial killer Hannibal Lecter, played by Anthony Hopkins. The movie was a huge success, and Jodie Foster received an Oscar, a Golden Globe, as well as a BAFTA for her role. The Silence of the Lambs is thought to be one of the best movies of all time, and Jodie Foster immortalized herself with her acting in the movie. However, the movie received some criticism for apparently being homophobic and transphobic, especially given that Jodie Foster was rumored to be a lesbian around this time. These rumors would remain unaddressed for the time being, while Jodie Foster moved on with her film career. She made her debut as a director with the movie Little Man Tate in 1991, which wasn't a huge success, but did receive praise. Jodie Foster started a relationship in 1993 with producer Sidney Bernard, with whom she had 2 children in 1998 and 2001. During this period, her movie career went on in a smooth fashion. She started a production company in 1992 called Egg Pictures, and the first movie she produced was released in 1994, called Nell. This was an interesting role where she played the character of a woman who spoke in her own invented language. The movie didn't succeed as much as some of the other successful movies, but Jodie Foster was praised for her role, and she received an Oscar nomination for it. Later, she appeared in the movie Contact in 1997, starring in a science fiction story based on a book written by famous astrophysicist Carl Sagan. Jodie Foster is also one of the lucky few actors in the world who have an object in space named after themselves. In 1998, an asteroid was given the name 17744 Jodie Foster in her honor. Jodie Foster was offered the role of Clarice Starling once again in 2001 for the movie Hannibal, but she rejected it. The role was taken by Julianne Moore, and Jodie Foster tried to concentrate on directing and producing. But some of her planned productions kept getting canceled, and Jodie Foster eventually had to shut down her production company, Egg Pictures, in 2001. Jodie Foster appeared in David Fincher's Panic Room, and this became a huge hit. It is actually the most commercially successful film in her career. Jodie Foster was lucky to get this role, however, as she only got it after Nicole Kidman had to drop out of it because of an injury she sustained on set. Jodie Foster appeared in more thriller movies, including Flight Plan in 2005, another enormous hit. One of her lesser-known roles was when she voiced the character of Maggie in a special episode of The Simpsons in 2009. One of Jodie Foster's most difficult moments in her career came as the director of the 2011 movie The Beaver. This was a movie about a depressed individual starring Mel Gibson, with Jennifer Lawrence and herself in supporting roles. Around the time of the production of this movie, Mel Gibson created serious controversy as he was accused of domestic violence as well as making anti-Semitic remarks. The movie was a failure in the box office, largely because it was boycotted by the audience due to Mel Gibson's crazy antics. But soon after this, an important moment in Jodie Foster's life took place in the public eye. The rumors about Jodie Foster's sexuality had been around for quite some time, even though she had been in a long relationship with Sidney Bernard from 1993 to 2008. She had been called a closeted lesbian in the media, and she addressed these rumors in the 2013 Golden Globe Awards. There, she was being honored for her contribution to the entertainment industry with the Cecil B. DeMille Award. In her acceptance speech, she finally came out. She focused on how she fought to maintain privacy her whole life, as she has been in front of cameras from the age of 3. If you had been a public figure from the time that you were a toddler, if you'd had to fight for a life that felt real and honest and normal against all odds, then maybe you too might value privacy above all else, she said. Jodie Foster's directorial career blossomed after this, as she directed episodes in celebrated TV shows such as Orange is the New Black, House of Cards, and Black Mirror. She was nominated for her work as a director in an episode titled Lesbian Request Denied on Orange is the New Black, as well as the episode of House of Cards she directed in 2014. Since then, Jodie Foster has been juggling acting and directing. Recently, in 2021, for her role of a lawyer for a prisoner in Guantanamo Bay in the movie The Mauritanian, she received a Golden Globe Award. In the Cannes Film Festival, Jodie Foster was given the Lifetime Achievement Award in 2021 as well. Jodie Foster is a modern Hollywood great, a legendary actress whose brains and beauty go hand in hand in elevating her to stardom. Her next big project is going to be Season 4 of True Detective, which is set to release in 2024. But it's safe to say that she has already done enough to cement her legacy as one of the finest actresses the world will ever see. For more such videos about beautiful actresses of yesteryear, watch the videos on the end screen.